by the matter.
Such enthusiasm.
I call the Honourable Member David Shearer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And it's I'm pleased to take a call on this important bill. And as my colleague Pete Hodgson quite eloquently put it, I mean, this is actually a very important piece of legislation, and we are supporting it, as we do support important pieces of legislation. Primarily, I guess, because actually, as he pointed out, this was a bill that was brought in while Labor was still in government, and here we are 3 years later, and it's back in the House. I don't think there's been massive problems in not having this legislation in place, but certainly the importance of this bill is that, of course, that it protects much of New Zealand's intellectual property. And when you look at New Zealand today and where it's going, much of New Zealand's wealth is derived from intellectual property, and that's both in the agricultural sector, but perhaps in some ways more importantly in the way that the sector is going in the high-tech and telecommunications area. This is an area where New Zealand companies add about $6.5 billion worth of revenue to the country, of which nearly 80% of that's exported. So when you look at and that is exported in the form of ideas and pieces of property which creates actually enormous wealth per individual who is involved in constructing this intellectual property, whether it be through a product, per software, or some ideas. About nearly $300,000 per person in the high-tech sector. So it is of great value to New Zealand, and therefore protecting our intellectual property and making sure that that is reflected in our legislation is extremely important. So the purpose of the bill, and just moving on to the purposes of this bill is in relation to the three treaties that it looks to bring into effect. The Madrid Protocol, first of all, is a protocol that provides a system that simplifies the procedures required for a trademark owner to protect their trademarks overseas. And obviously that's important. And joining that protocol for New Zealand will provide New Zealand trademark owners with the possibility of having their trademark protected overseas by filing one application for registration of trademark with the Intellectual Property Office of New Zealand and designating one or more overseas countries who are also members of the Madrid Protocol where protection is sought. So there's a reciprocal arrangement between New Zealand and the important other countries where we would like protection as well. The second of the agreements is the NIS agreement, which provides a classification system for goods and services for the purposes of registering trademarks. The NIS classification is widely known and widely acknowledged. And those countries that are party to the NIS agreement must apply the NIS classification to registered trademarks, although those countries not party may still apply the NIS classification. And New Zealand has applied the NIS classification to registered trademarks for many, many years. So we have been we have acknowledged it, and the NIS classification is updated on a 5-yearly cycle, and parties to the NIS agreement meet on a semi-regular basis to consider whether there needed to be or could be or should be amendments to that classification. So by becoming part of the NIS agreement, New Zealand would be permitted to participate in those meetings where amendments are considered and influence the future development of the NIS classification so that it best meets the needs of New Zealand businesses. So once again, this is something, the bill will, in this context, will clarify the latest edition of the NIS classification that must be used with all new applications for registration of a trademark. So once again, it's New Zealand coming into the context of a series of treaties, and the last one I'll talk about here is the Singapore Treaty, come in so that New Zealand is covered under international law. And lastly, as I said, the Singapore Treaty, which aims to make national trademark registration systems more user-friendly and to reduce business compliance costs for trademark owners. This is more recent.
I call the honourable member Ian